Hey everyone, and welcome to Already Cancelled. I'm Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Firefly. Episode 9 is called Ariel. So, full spoilers for the episode as always, and also thank you to our sponsor from Patreon, Keith Beard, who sponsors these Firefly reviews. So, this episode, it's kind of another biggie actually. I think, Out of Gas is my favourite episode, but Ariel is quite a prominent episode for a couple of reasons.
Yeah, I think Out of Gas, while, objectively, it's a very good episode, like you say, it's your favourite. It's not necessarily like, oh, it's a big one in terms of progression.
Big character stuff from Mal, but yeah, this one in terms of the main plot being Riven and Simmer being pursued by the Alliance, this has more meat to it. Effectively, it's probably the second main plot episode of the show. If you think of the first one being the Serenity, the pilot being the first one, this would kind of be the second one that moves the main plot forward again. And moves forward Simon and River, and River's mental state and all that stuff. And it's also a fantastic episode for Jane, as we'll get into throughout. So yes, Ariel begins with the crew talking about the fact that they're going to Ariel, the planet, which is one of the, as they refer to, the core, being the central planets that are all the richest. And while Wash wants to go off and maybe go to a pool or something and do something nice, she's like, nope, I'm not stepping foot in that damn planet, that Garan planet. I hate it. I'm not doing it. And then Mal's like, yeah, no one's getting off the ship. No one's going anywhere. We're here because an hour is going to our checkup that she has to do every couple of years. It's a companion thing. She has to go in and get checked up and to get a physical, I guess.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
I assume it's once a year.
Yeah. They never outright say it's checking for STDs, but I imagine
there's an implication, isn't there?
That's partly in there. Although, given that companion's such a sort of prestigious thing, I imagine it is just a full physical and a full everything.
It probably is everything. While you're here, we might as well. But yeah, I'm sure that's part of it for sure.
Yeah, and then out of almost nowhere, River grabs a big butcher knife. She thinks she's Michael Myers for a second, and goes up and just slashes Jane in the chest and says, "You look better in red."
To be fair, probably deserves it
for his actions later in the episode.
No, just in general. He's Jane.
Okay. I think we're going to try and argue that River's sensing what he's going to do later and is reacting.
No, I can't do that, because as much as she has some sort of limited precognition, at this point, he doesn't even know that they're getting off.
True.
There is no plan yet for him to have even had a notion of doing anything.
That's true. He can't form his plan until the other plan is formed, which we'll get to in a minute. Yeah, Jane's pissed. He's fear-mongering about River. He's like, crazy people need to get off the ship. Mal, you need to do this. And Mal is like, no, they're part of my crew. We're not doing this. But Mal does get quite stern with Simon after. I mean, well, stern's not the right word, but he does get kind of like, look, we had a deal that you'd keep her in check, and if she can't be kept in check, we're going to have to reconsider what the deal is. But what I like about this is that after he does his stern captain bit, he does actually kind of drop that act a little bit, and he's like, she's getting worse, isn't she? There's almost concern
it's
coming
more
through.
Just, he had to say this and get it over and done, because that's his job.
I thought that was more of a sentence there.
No, just over and done. That's his job, and then on to the bit you were saying.
Yeah, well, I like the idea that because Mal sometimes comes across as the dick captain because he's all, but I think this scene shows that he does care on a human level, but and arguably maybe this is an effect of Out of Gas. Maybe this wouldn't have happened before Out of Gas. Is this extra little moment at the end where he shows real concern about what's going on?
Maybe. I'm not sure about that though. Just in the sense that I think he's always shown at least some level of concern for his crew.
Sure.
All season.
Sure. So yeah, but the big thing before we get to the title sequence is that Simon comes in and says, "Hey, you're looking for a client?" Because they're playing horseshoes.
Yeah, it's the fairground game essentially.
Yes. Never played it myself, but yeah.
Gotta do something on a boring ship, I suppose.
Have you ever made contact with a horseshoe?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just curious. But I played horseshoes, and Simon's like, "Oh, there's a client. Me. I'm the client now." I don't know why I said it like that. I should have done the other thing from Captain Tara does this all the time, which is why I've not forgotten about it now. But
you know what? I've never even seen this movie. I know exactly what you're about to do.
I'm the captain now. You know that thing from the trailer.
Yeah.
I was just like Simon should come out like, I'm the client now. I'm the client now. So he pitches them this heist, and the reason why he wants to do this is because he wants to get into the big local hospital in the main city and use their neural scanner to look at River's brain so that he can
proper equipment.
Yeah, so he can deduce what they might have done to her and maybe how he can try to help her. And the payment for this isn't something you can give them right now, but the idea is that if he gets in there, they can go and fetch some med supplies, some drugs, and he can be like, hey, I can tell you what's worth grabbing, because not all of it is, and how to get there, how to get in the building, so on and so on.
Yeah.
And they're pretty receptive.
And at first they're like, well, hang on, isn't it a bit shitty stealing from a hospital? And they're all like, well, do you know what? It's a core hospital. They'll be restocked in hours. They won't even miss it. Whereas we can, sell this and it'll go to people who do need it.
Yeah, out in the rim, as Mel puts it. But no, I like that. Like, it's not even just speculation. Simon's like, no, I've worked at one of these hospitals.
Yeah, I know that what'll happen.
Yeah, I like when that concerns me. It's Kaylee who's just sort of listening to all this. He's like, not to be negative, but but are we not stealing people, medicine from people who need it?
Yeah. It does sound really shitty. Just on paper, doesn't it?
On paper, yeah. But at the same time, though, we see how big and corporate they are. It's like, yeah, they've just got.
What it is, it's one of the way they justify it. It's when in the movie where they steal from the bank and they go, it's fine, they're insured. No one's losing any money. It's just the bank.
Yeah. So we get like a heist montage. I actually have less notes for this episode than I've had for the few recent ones, and I think it's because so much of this chunk of the episode, there's a good 5-minute chunk here, which is this heist montage where they're doing all the prep. And I didn't really have much notes for this because there's not really much to remember because it's all just pure plot. So they have to get an official vehicle. So Kaylee and Wash are sent to the junkyard because there's some fun stuff with she's like, oh, I'm on the planet, I'm finally on Ariel for the first time in my life, and I'm hanging out at a junkyard until she sees like a coil that she really likes. She's like, oh, coil.
She's like, I love this place.
So they find like an old abandoned, burned down med chopper essentially, air
ambulance.
Yeah, air ambulance, whatever you want to call it. And it's their job to fix this up. So there's a lot in the montage that keeps coming back to them, like welding things and doing all sorts, and then eventually painting and so on.
Yeah,
and getting up and running again, because that'll get them to the door. Because they have to show up and looking like they belong before they'll get to the door. And then there's a step beyond that. And our part of that, of course, is having costumes and having the right apparel and fake IDs, which ends up being Jane's job because Jane goes and
he can definitely forge a few fake IDs.
Yeah,
he's got contacts.
Well, they get black market contacts to get the outfits, I think, because as Simon puts it, if they steal them, then that'll just make everyone, like, security will be on alert because there's been a theft. So they have to do it other ways. And then, of course, my favourite part of all this is that Mal, Zoe, and Jane are going to be the ones going into the hospital. Now, they also, obviously, Simon and River again as well, and we learn, of course, the plan is to make them look dead. So they take a drug to appear dead, and they're going to be going as corpses. But they have to train, Simon has to train the three of them to, speak some medical babble on the way in.
If they ask you, okay, what's gone on? What's the situation? You need to be able to answer and look like you know your job.
Yes. So we see Mal kind of almost getting it right. Zoe almost gets it right. They're practicing our lines. And Jane just buckles immediately the first time he's asked. He's like, what about the electrodes? He's like, we forgot them. And then he's struggling so hard. He's trying really hard. He's writing like a cheat sheet on his hand at one point. He's stammering. He's like, if I wanted to go to school, I'd have went to school.
He is actually trying, to be fair, though.
He's trying really hard, and he's really struggling. And he's still muttering it to himself in the ship on the way there, in the med ship. And possibly, like, one of my favourite jokes of the entire show is the payoff to this.
It is fantastic, yeah.
Because they go in, and we've seen them spend all this time like practicing these lines. They go in, and the person at the door is like, "Hey, so what's happening? Oh, we've got a couple of corpses." And then he's like, "Okay, go on, take them through." Like, no questions. And that was always a possibility. It was always like, if they ask, you have to know what you're talking about, but they might not. And Jane is so proud that he actually learned his lines that he just yells out awkwardly, "We tried the electrodes to the blah 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 and the blah blah blah," and like it's just this awkward moment, and Mal and Zoe just turn at him and like, "What are you doing?" Like it's the most suspicious thing ever.
Yeah.
Oh, I love this moment so much. This is one of the best jokes, and this has got a lot. I mean, we've been talking every episode about how funny the show is, but this is one of the best jokes.
One of the funniest. Absolutely is.
Oh, so good.
It's because of the that montage. I mean, it's probably 7 or 8 times we come back to Jane trying to learn these lines.
Yeah.
It's not just 3, right? It's definitely more than that. So then by the time you get to this payoff, it's so ingrained into it. It's great.
Yeah, because they subvert it by not asking him, and then that's the joke is that he insists because he's learned his damn line of dialogue.
Exactly.
Oh, it's so good. Another line from Jane here was quite funny, actually, is when they're in the montage and Simon explains that him and River are going to have to be dead, and Jane just goes, "I'm starting to like this plan."
Yeah.
Oh, dear. And River and Simon also have kind of an emotional little scene where Simon's like, putting her to sleep and kind of talking her into it, and kind of like, "No, I'm going to try and fix you." It's kind of a sweet scene. There's a sweet little build-up scene.
There's a lot of things like it. Even when Jane's making that joke. The whole cynical aspect where Simon's like, right, if this is me on duty, this is what I'd be asking you. I want the details. And the person that just doesn't give a shit. So just go through. I don't care. Just whatever.
It's another character beat that shows that Simon cares about his job. He cared about being good at his job.
He did, and this is what they maybe it's true, maybe it's not, but their perception of the Corps is certainly, people are just like this and don't care.
Yeah, they're just rich and happy and don't give a shit about anyone. But Simon clearly does. Simon does have the heart of gold. And we see that. There's a big scene coming up later that shows that.
One of the best, probably the best scene in the episode.
Oh, it's a bold statement. I don't know if I'd agree with that, but yeah.
Yeah.
But you could state your case. So my note, because I went back for those little couple of beats in the montage there. My note for Jane saying his line was just Jane had to say his line! ! That was my note for that joke.
No shit.
Oh dear. And then from here, they're kind of sneaking in. They split up. And there is a moment before they go in as well where Mal says to Jane, "Are we going to have a problem with you and the doctor? Can we trust you?" Because he's going off with Zoe to get the goods while they're going to the scanner room. But at one point, Mal and Zoe get caught by a doctor, and they're like, "Oh, we got turned around." And
Jane's like when Mal asks him, Jane's like, "No, it's a good plan. To be fair to him, this is well thought out. It's going to pay," and he's not wrong.
Yeah. But of course, I actually want to point out. So when we find out Jane's betraying them, because Simon and River are in the scanning room, he's setting things up. Jane goes out to call, an Alliance agent, right, to say, "Hey, I've got the fugitives here," and I just obviously, it's a big plot point for the episode because he's turning the backs on them, and it's for a big payday for the reward, yada yada yada. But the thing I want to point out here's a little thing is that before he calls him on the little screen, there's like an ad for a soda, but this ad felt so Blade Runner to me. It was one of those things where it was just this video screen, this woman drinking the can, and she's just smelling at the screen, but it was on a loop. It just the show's not had a lot of this, and because we've not seen a lot of the core planets yet, we've been very much on the ship, on the fringes, on these other outer planets.
We've been doing the Wild West instead of the Blade Runner. Yeah,
so it was just fun. Even though it's only just one little slice, I was like, yeah, that felt really Blade Runner to me. And to the credit, because this show obviously doesn't have a huge budget, but I do appreciate that, when Jane's out in the street getting the costumes, from the guy who's dropping them off, they have put in some effort to have these little futuristic cars in the background and things like that.
And it's especially credit worthy because it is such a small little snippet. He's only out there for 30 seconds.
Yeah, but because they could have just kept that a really tight shot and just not looked down the street. To just hide
it. And that's the thing. It's one shot. It's not doesn't last long, so you can get away with it being cheap, right? But the fact that went, no, we're gonna make it look good, even though they don't really have to because it's such a relatively unimportant.
In fact, actually, speaking of effects, the shot where there's a shot when they're coming in the med shuttle towards the hospital, where it's just a exterior shot of that coming into frame, and it's just flying over the city at night. And the CG is not great because it's it's 2002 TV CGI, but I actually really like the shot otherwise because it gave me this kind of, again, cyberpunk kind of mood that this show's not really giving me yet, and I'm like, oh,
yeah, I'll go with that.
That was kind of neat. So, no, cool. Cool. So.
Are you making yourself laugh at your own notes?
I'm laughing at my own notes because I'm just remembering the moment. Well, because I remember the serious scene that's coming up, where they're going to the. It's after they've been in the scanning room, I think, or are they still on the way? Did they go to 2 rooms? I think they go to 2 rooms. Because Jane's already slipped out and made the call, but I think this was in the morgue when he was waking them up. He slipped out to make the call when they're waking up, rather than within the scanner room. But they're on their way to the scanner room, and they're going through this main part of the hospital, and there's people being worked on and so on, and I don't know if it's Simon or Jane says no one's going to die. River just points at someone and goes, "He is." That's really funny to me. Given that River's been right about a lot of things, that's what I was laughing at. I looked down at my notes and went, "Oh, yeah, that was really funny." But of course, this is a big scene for Simon. It's a big scene for showing his character, because they're going down, and this guy starts flatlining on the hospital, and the doctor who's with him is just kind of like panicky and doesn't know what he's doing. He's doing the wrong things.
And Jane's like, "Come on, let's go," while they're distracted.
And just to keep some context in mind here, like, River and Simon are fugitives right now. If anyone recognizes them from like wanted like bulletins or whatever, like, they're screwed. But Simon takes the risk and says, "No, I'm going to go in and do what I can here." And he walks in, he administers a couple of things. Control.
The guy's like, "Who the hell are you?" And he just ignores the question and just carries on with, "Right, what have you given him?"
Yeah, it's kind of almost like obviously Simon's good at it, but it's almost like the same principle of them walking in the front doors. Like, if you know what you're talking about, you won't be questioned as much.
Yeah,
because you're just like, you'll say you know what you're doing. And it turns out that the guy gave him a thing that goes against the medication that he was taking for preparation for the surgery.
It reacts badly with the other thing, and he's like, a first grade student, should have known that.
A first year med student, I believe, was the exact.
Sure, but it's the same thing in this context.
I don't know. First grade makes it sound you're talking like a 6-year-old.
No, in context.
If anyone refers to their first year in university or college as first grade, please write in. I'm pretty sure no one does, though.
Does it matter?
It does, because you're wrong, and that's what matters in this context. But it's a moment, and River's even really proud of him. Like, River's like, touched by the fact that he went over and saved him, and
Now, I said, this is what my favorite scene in the episode, because of all that stuff, and then something a bit extra on top. It proves that River can be wrong. It's not set because she's like, no, he's gonna die. It's not set in stone because Simon makes the choice to change that.
Yeah. There's you can deviate from what she said if you intervene. Yeah.
No, which I think is fascinating.
I also like that, and then just another part of his character, this Heart of Gold, is the idea that, obviously we mentioned that he's taking a huge risk by walking over there and interacting with them, but just the idea as well that this whole mission's about saving his sister, about trying to help her. But he still goes out of his way to save someone else.
Yeah, well, I mean, he was a doctor. He took an oath, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I like that. Even Jane's quite impressed at the end of this. He's like, well, shit.
Yeah. Which, again, the guilt for what he's doing, just building up there inside.
Exactly.
So they get to the scanner, and he's looking into her brain. He's like, oh, they cut into her brain over and over. They meddled with it. And basically, the ultimate point here is that she feels everything. Her inhibitors for, hiding pain or hiding fear. The amygdala, I want to say he said?
I don't know. Brain words.
Yes, I think that's what he said. Was removed. And that's the thing that lets us, we still feel scared and hurt and whatever, but we can sort of choose to try and ignore it and focus on other things. River can't do that. So that's part of why River's so erratic and sort of the way she is all the time. It's not the whole reason, but it's certainly adding to it. It's certainly heightening a lot of things. So we've learned that for sure. Obviously, having seen the rest of everything else, we kind of know why they were cutting into her brain. But so the big plot point, it's a big plot point, and gives him something to fix, something that he can maybe work towards helping her with however he can do that. Not that he can recreate part of her brain, but obviously
no, but it's okay. Can we work around that? Can we learn to adapt?
Yeah.
Can we do something else now rather than just at least there's an avenue to actively combat rather than just wildly guess.
But of course, Jane says the plan has changed, so they're not going out the front again. They're going out the back. So he's leading them to an ambush from the Alliance. But of course, when they get there, the Alliance agent essentially betrays him now and says, yeah, because once Simon and River have been carted off, and Jane's like, "Oh, you're going to pretend to arrest me to make this look good," kind of thing. He's like, "I'm not going to pretend anything. Like, that reward money will be coming to me any day now. You've been harboring fugitives. So, oh, what a shame. Jane's been betrayed for his misdeeds."
Yep.
Yeah, but
shocked.
But what hurts about this though is that when they're in like the just a room before they get transferred to a proper cell, Simon's like, "Oh, thank you for trying to like fight back. If they hadn't been armed, I think you could have taken them." And it's almost a compliment. He's like, "Yeah, there's 4 of them, but you could have taken them, Jane, if they weren't armed."
Yeah.
And you tried, so that's what counts. And he's really like, this is like the most affectionate Simon's ever been to Jane, because they've been so polar opposites the entire show.
Yeah.
And it's like just the guilt knife is just twisting, and it's like,
even when they get back on the ship, it's like, "Oh, you should have seen him. He saved us."
Yeah, he was borderline calling him a damn hero. Like, that was borderline.
He was getting ready to sing the song.
Yeah, he was. He was like, "You know what, hero I can't indeed. He is. Jane Cobb. What a man."
He was.
So no, that was really good. So yeah, really good moment. Okay, I know what that says.
Joe, I like that is if anyone listened to the audio, he was obviously struggling to read his notes. That's what the pause was. He held the paper up, and then he turned it, thinking maybe it's sideways. like he wasn't even sure if it was straight on. It was like, maybe if I turn it sideways, I can read it better.
Hey, it clicked after I turned it sideways, so my method is indisputable.
Oh, Joe, I can't. My writing is atrocious, but still.
No, so this is in the same scene with River, Simon, and Jane, and when the Alliance guys try to talk to them, River starts babbling as she does, but she's actually kind of talking about Jane in a weird way, because she's talking about they took Christmas away. You can't look in the cupboard because that's greedy, and it's the idea of Jane got greedy and he tried to cheat. That's what she's essentially, and I think that's why, because Jane gets really defensive here. He's like, "Shut her up, Simon." He's like, "Shut her up right now."
Christmas is the payday that they were going to get from all the supplies, and he could have had his share, and he would have been happy.
Yeah,
but he had to go and look for more.
So River, no, I mean, can River contextualize it so she understands what she knows? I mean, that's another question, but she knows.
Yeah.
So yeah. Simon shows a bit of strength here though, because when they get into the holding cell, waiting for, as we see soon, the Hands of Blue are on their way, 2x2 Hands of Blue. Simon actually sort of helps Jane fight, because Jane with their handcuffed, they've both got their hands behind their back, and they sort of like shoulder tackle. And when Simon sees Jane do this to the one guard, he's like, "Oh shit," and he like kind of does it as well. And I think this is also a bit of character growth for Simon, because could you imagine Simon like tackling people like this back in like episode 1?
No.
His time on Serenity has definitely...
Get some dirt on his suit. How dare he?
Exactly. Yeah, and he ends up helping. He ends up like kind of taking the guy. I mean, he doesn't kill him, as we find out later, but he like sort of like holds his knee in the guy's neck to like knock him out. It kind of like...
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like, there's this really methodical thing, and Jane's like, Jane properly kills the other guy though. He like properly vicious, because he's Jane. He doesn't know how to hold back.
Well, yeah. But I don't think Simon's not exactly mad at him for that there. It's like, no, do what you got to do. Yeah.
And it's part of it, obviously, this has been cutting back to the other group occasionally, but ultimately all their stuff can be boiled up to...
They realise something went wrong. Yeah. We should go and check.
Yeah, they get back to the ship, and they're like, "Oh, they're not here yet. Okay, enough time has passed." And then Kaylee like looks into their comms, and hey, like, they keep talking about ducks, and like, "Oh, they're speaking in code. They've got them." So so rescue's coming. Malon's only are on their way to trying to save the day. As we get... the main trio, as we were talking about, trying to escape. And there's a bit of a debate where Jane wants to go back the way they came, and Simon's like, "But there's like dozens of Alliance officers in that room."
And Jane's like, "I'll just take them out."
Yeah. And it's like, "No, we could go this way." And Jane's scared of the unknown. And again, this is a very, I think, metaphorical point for Jane as a character here, is that he's scared of going the way that he doesn't know where it leads. So this idea of doing the right thing for Jane is like, I don't know where that leads to.
Yeah.
He doesn't know what the fallout is for that. He does ultimately go with them, though, because he hears screaming. And why does he hear screaming? Honestly, the episode turns into a horror movie here for a couple of minutes, because the Hands of Blue come in, and when they realise that the Alliance guy and a couple of the men have talked to the prisoners, They pull out this little device that sort of sticks out. It's almost like, think of the Men in Black's like memory doohickey, but instead of just wiping your mind, it makes you bleed from your eyes and ears and kills you violently.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, proper dark.
One of those.
Seeing the guy bleed from the eyes was really cool, but it becomes this kind of chase thing where they're kind of like following the breadcrumbs of where River, Simon, and Jane have been, and they go into the cell and they kill the one last guy that's been left alive, and then they're getting closer and closer as they're trying to like find an exit, and of course eventually they can't get through this door. Jane tries to use the Alliance gun, but it's this like shockwave thing that doesn't do anything to the door. Luckily though, Mal and Zoe show up on the other side, blow it open, and get them out of there. But
good timing.
But all this Hands of Blue stuff was great. I mean, honestly, the worst part of this episode is that it's the one episode that makes me really sad that we never got the conclusion to the Hands of Blue plot in the show or in the movie or whatever. Because part of making the movie meant kind of just accepting that some things. Yeah, just so they could, and it makes sense because you want to have the thing that feels like a proper ending in case we never get more. So I'm glad the movie didn't focus on the Hands of Blue. The Hands of Blue were definitely a season 1 plot that was going to wrap up.
But it could have been a great ongoing threat.
Yeah. So that upsets me because this stuff's really good in this episode.
Yeah, no, it is, but it's like I say, it's the nature of the beast of taking a 13 episode season and condensing it. Let's assume it was going to be another 13 episode season, right? Hypothetically. And condensing that to a 2-hour movie. Yeah,
and let's be honest, realistically, it was probably going to be another 9 episodes and then another 22 episode season.
It probably would have been, yeah. That's what I'm saying. Even nowadays, if we got a revival, it'd be 8 to 13. Nowadays we accept that.
Well, nowadays we even expect renewals on network TV that are only 10 to 13 episodes. That's not that uncommon now. Yeah. But when Firefly was on, that was not a thing. When Firefly was on, if something survived,
got that back 9, or you were dead.
If something survived, it was getting 22 episodes a season. So, also, again, speaking of horror references here, River at one point says, "They're here," which it's hard not to think of Poltergeist when you hear that phrase. So the whole thing, actually, just on the horror movie thing as well, is a shot of Jane in this sequence where he hears more screams coming from the distance. And there's like a Dutch angle on him, sort of low down, looking up at him, and he sort of looks back, and it's a very horror movie shot. It reminds me of. Try to think of a specific example. It feels almost like a. I guess it kind of Evil Dead-y, but not like I feel there's more serious examples I could think of as well if I had time. But
no, I can see the shot in Evil Dead, but like I say, this is played much more seriously than that.
Yeah. So yeah, they get back in the ship.
As I said, the reason you went to Evil Dead is because it plays it to the extreme because of the satirical take it's doing.
Oh sure, yeah.
So it's much more obvious that it's doing it.
So you're back in the ship, and as you said earlier, Simon is like, "Hey, this guy Jane, he's a damn hero. You should have seen him. He's an angel." And they're all happy, and Mal's like hugging Kaylee, and they're all like, "Oh, job well done. Everyone got stuff." There's some funny stuff in here as well because Anara just came back to the ship because presumably all the montage of them preparing was the few days she was in her checkup, and she gets back to the ship. It's like, "Oh, what happened? It was cold," and she's like, "Cold tables, kind of boring as expected." And Mal's like, this, that, Reverend Simon died. We brought him back to life. Actually, I think it was Kaylee that said that. Kaylee says that when she first comes back on the ship.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, a bit of an adventure. But of course, this is where I think we get the best scene of the episode, which is why I dispute what you said earlier.
I like this scene a lot, and it's probably the second best scene of the episode. But I'm sticking with my guns. Yeah.
So I almost took nothing down for this because I didn't need to. I was like, I know this scene pretty well. Jane, after everyone else leaves the docking area, Mal knocks out Jane. And Jane wakes up in the in the door, like beyond the
airlock.
Yeah, behind the airlock where the drop door comes down, and they're still in the atmosphere of the planet. Because and again, this is a really neat bit of setup here, where Mal makes a point of saying to Wash like, "Oh, how long till we're out of atmo?" And he's like, "Oh, 5 minutes tops." So it actually, even though you don't necessarily need it, it just kind of sets up the idea that there's going to be a bit of a journey to get out of. Yeah. The atmosphere.
And I appreciate that it also means that, okay, he wasn't out cold that long from that punch, a minute or two tops.
Yeah. It was a quick thing. He was probably dragged outside, the door was shut, and he woke up.
Yeah, not long after, all that air, the cold probably woke him up.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So there's a little walkie-talkie, and Mal's talking to him through the little porthole, and he's like, admit what you did, basically. What I can't figure out is why you were around the back. And Jane's like, oh, I got hit by, I got snatched by the feds, which is what happens when you call the feds. They betray you, kind of thing. And of course, Jane ultimately does admit that he did this, and he's like, the money was too good, which plays to his character. We've had several references this season, of course, of him, waiting for the better payday.
Yeah, he's always been very open with Mal that, hey, if someone's paying me more.
But what I love about, there's a couple of things I love about this scene. One, of course, is that Jane's like, why are you so upset? I wasn't turning on everyone else. It was just them. And he's like, they're part of my crew. You turn on part of my crew. You turn on me. You did this to me. It's that simple. Yeah. So it makes that clear. And, Jane kind of accepts that he's dying. He accepts that this is it. He's like, what are you going to tell the others about, why I'm dead? And he's like, I hadn't really thought about it yet. And there's a beat, and it says Mal's walking up the stairs. He's leaving him to die. And Jane just says, don't tell them what I did. And that's actually the moment that makes Mal close the door. And there's a funny beat at the end, of course, because after he walks away, Jane's just left there, like behind the airlock, going, "You gonna let me in?
You gonna let me out then?"
Yeah. But it's this idea that what made Mal keep him around was the idea that that Jane actually is remorseful for what he did. That he actually regrets
he obviously feels some sort of guilt.
Yeah, because it's one thing that he feels guilt that it didn't go wrong. It's one thing that he regrets that it didn't go to plan. But it's another thing that he doesn't want Simon and River to know. Even though he's dead, he doesn't want them to know. He doesn't want the memory of him to be tarnished.
He doesn't want them to think of him that way.
Yeah. And that's enough to just humanize him enough that he's learned something that he couldn't quite learn in Janestown, but he learned a little bit here. That makes him more of a character.
He was on the road in Janestown. Yeah, it was starting.
He was questioning things in Janestown. He couldn't quite put his head around some things, though.
No, but the first seeds of the idea are there.
Yeah, and it's not that he's not going to be Jane next episode, but this it means Jane won't just betray everyone at the drop of a hat. That he at least maybe has some loyalty in him now in a way that he never did before.
Well, we hope.
We hope.
Yeah.
So, no, there you go. That's basically it. There's one more little scene where Simon goes to River with a syringe, and she's like, "Oh, I don't want to go to sleep again. I don't want to go to sleep again." And he's like, "No, it's time to wake up." And it's kind of this hopeful ending of like, "No, maybe he's figured enough out to like make her better." And of course, knowing that what the rest of the show is, she's not exactly just completely healthy next episode by any means, but the idea
that would be too easy, wouldn't it?
She's not stabbing Jane randomly though, so.
Yeah, progress.
Progress. No book this episode. They just mentioned that he's visiting someone on planet or whatever.
Basically, when obviously when they realized they were coming into the core, he was like, "Hey, can I go visit this like temple planet and go and do some meditating with a garden?"
Now, I wonder if this is because they didn't have a thing for him to do in the script, or did they worry that it was going to be hard to justify to Book that they were stealing medicine? Like, would Book have more of a problem with this? Even though I think Book's logical mind would probably agree with their logic.
No, I think he's an incredibly practical man, as well as a man of faith. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
He would go, no, do you know what? No one's going to get hurt. And if anything, we can help more people by selling it to people who need it.
Yeah, we can help people in the realm. I mean, they even reference Robin Hood at one point. They're like, oh yeah, stealing from the rich, giving to the poor, kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't think he would have had a problem with it. I think probably either they didn't have a role for him to play, or maybe the actor needed a week off for whatever reason. Yeah, scheduling.
Possibly. I mean, it's worth mentioning that sometimes when you've got a large cast, you kind of have to sometimes take a character off. I feel like this show typically doesn't do it that much. I mean, we only have 14 episodes to go on, but it's not really made a habit of it just because everyone just lives on the ship. So it's like,
if when you're mostly doing things on the ship, everyone's just there.
Yeah. So not a big deal, but just notable that he's absent for the episode. So interesting. Actually, Joe, I wonder if it's not that they really encounter the Hands of Blue, but I wonder if it's something to do with like maybe later in the season because of his mysterious past, which we know a bit more about. I wonder if like when he kind of gets a whiff of what's hunting them, that maybe he actually gets to reveal something. So maybe the reason why he wasn't in this episode is because we weren't ready at this point in the season for whatever he was going to share. Like. The idea being that he would maybe recognize, oh wait a minute, the bodies, the path of bodies that are being left here.
I mean, I wonder if anyone would have recognized him on a big core planet.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, maybe that's why he's hiding.
It's more, do you know what? I'm gonna go and just meditate over there while you guys go on to the potentially dangerous place for him, in the same way that it's dangerous for Simon and River.
Yeah, what I like about both of those options there that we just thought up is that they're both really good story reasons not to have him here for this episode.
Yeah, I mean, take your pick, really. Headcanon however you want.
Yeah, and I feel like had we gotten the rest of the season, I think it would have maybe proved one or the other right, but ultimately, we'll never know. So, not a big deal, but worth a little bit of speculation. So, that is episode 9 of Firefly, which means we have 5 left and the movie. So,
yep.
What's next? I don't have my Blu-ray in front of me.
I don't know off the top of my head. Give me a second.
Don't go to IMDb, you have to go to Wikipedia or somewhere else.
Yeah, hang on.
IMDb has them in the air date order, which is abysmally stupid.
That is terrible. Why would it do that?
I'm going to guess
next one is War Stories.
I was right. I got it in just in time.
I was getting there.
Yes, this actually brings back a villain from earlier in the season, which is nice. So we'll see that next episode. So by all means, let us know what you thought of Ariel in the comments. Like and subscribe, all that stuff. Get us on the Twitters at mail_fuzz for channel updates. If you want to support the show and the channel and everything we do here, you can head over to patreon.com/mailfuzztv. We can support us for as little as $1 per month, and you get bonuses, exclusives, you get some stuff early, and you can feel warm and fuzzy about keeping us flying. Imagine we're on Serenity, and the channel and all the podcasts are Serenity, and we have to feel it. We can't take jobs smuggling and stealing things, though, so we have to rely on Patreon. So go to Patreon.
This metaphor really got away from you, didn't it?
Yes, it works well enough. Connor's clearly the Jane of the crew. I'm
not sure if that's a compliment or an insult.
Everyone else felt like a compliment, so it was the best I had going for me. People can call me the Mal if they like, since I'm in charge.
They could, but I don't know if they would.
I'll accept Wash. I'll take the goofy one. I'm okay with Wash. Yeah, that is us. Thank you once again for watching or listening. I was appreciated. Keep watching TV, guys, and curse your sudden but inevitable betrayal.